The market's been waiting for this day for weeks. The Fed, in just a few hours, is expected to announce that it's cutting interest rates yet again. And to say Wall Street already thinks it knows where this is going is a complete understatement. Let's get right down to our D.C. bureau, where our Fed correspondent Brian Cheung is standing by. Brian, good to see you. So what's the one thing investors really need to lock in on today at this meeting?
Yeah, well, as you say, it's basically an understatement to say that Wall Street is expecting a rate cut. I was just looking at the Fed funds futures markets. Again, these are contracts that price in the odds of what the Fed will do in its meeting today. And it seems like 100% chance of at least 25 basis points of cuts. Actually, since the new GDP numbers came in for the last quarter in the United States, we actually have seen for the first time possible odds of maybe even a 50 basis point cut, although very small. It's 0.5%. Based on the Fed funds futures contracts. But a few things worth noting: what type of language they use in the statement. Keep in mind that there will be no dot plot projections in this particular meeting. So we'll be waiting for Powell's commentary, again, Chairman Powell's commentary about what the next moves on rates might be. We're looking at the third consecutive rate cut in a row if they do follow through in this meeting. That would match the 75 basis points of insurance cuts that we saw in 1995 and 1996, which Fed policymakers have pointed to as a template for trying to avoid a recession. So after this possible rate cut today, though, there are questions about whether or not the Federal Reserve would want to signal the possibility of future rate cuts. It really depends on how you read the GDP report. So on one hand, the headline number was better than expected at 1.9%. But on the other hand, you have some on Wall Street that are saying actually the U.S. consumer, which has been a bright point of the economy so far, has maybe appeared to weaken a little bit. The real consumption slowing to 2.9% from 4.6% in the second quarter. So a lot worth watching in this meeting. Again, the statement comes out at 2, and the press conference with Chairman Powell will be at 2:30.
Talk to me about the language in that statement. What could really spark a rally in the market? What do investors absolutely not want to hear in that statement?
Yeah, well, there was some chatter about whether or not the Federal Reserve would continue with the language "act as appropriate." This is the language that they've used in previous meetings to signal that they could continue to cut rates. Now, if they do tweak that language to what some suggested as what would be, quote, act as needed, that might signal maybe a bias to pausing for the time being. That might get markets in a tizzy. But again, worth watching. That statement will come out at 2 p.m. today.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.